Welcome, everybody, to the Inclusion Solution Live podcast. We are in our summer series, Physiology of Inclusion, Finding Ease. And for now, this is our last episode of this series. However, Finding Ease is not over. We will have more opportunities to engage. But we wanted to just talk through some challenges that we're facing and then tools and resources that we can share with you all to get really tangible in how this applies to our work and how we show up. And so with that, Kevin, I want to ask you, what are some challenges right now for you that you're facing that listeners could learn from, and what are you doing to find ease in your own life and in this work?
Well, since we last talked, I've had a pretty heavy month. So what I'm wrestling with right now is, I think I probably have mentioned it at an earlier episode that I had experienced a heart attack at one point in time, and I was experiencing some symptoms, and so I went in for them to do a check, and in the process of doing that, I literally V-fibbed. So that's, people know that kind of your heart stops, and so at that moment, I remember I was awake, and then I was not awake. Then it was like dark, black, and then I was searching, and then I saw something kind of a little glowing a little bit, and then I was awake, and then in pain because they shock you to wake you back up. And so for me, I've tried to use that as an opportunity to journal around what I value in life. And so I'm just trying to find a quiet place to just journal and to journal what I value. And I've been kind of capturing that. So one takeaway for folks is, if you're that journaling and something simple, like that, and don't restrict what you're thinking about. Don't restrict what you write. Just do that. And one of my takeaways was, I'm doing what I want to do in life. And so, if that was it, it wasn't like I'd go back and go, I wish I would have done X, Y, and Z in life. So that's the latest. Now, there's some other tools I'd like to share with folks, but to directly answer your question, that's the latest I'm dealing with, and a way I'm trying to work through it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And, we'd been kind of with you on the journey, hearing about what was happening, within our team, and just really appreciating your transparency, just sharing what's going on and how it's impacting you. I'm curious to know, when you were journaling, what emerged around some of the themes of the components, around what's vibing in your life right now and what you are grateful for, in the sense that you're aligned in each of those buckets, or some that you want to share.
Yeah, so I would say, obviously, I value the work that I do. I value the impact that I can have in the work that I do. I value who I married, and I would marry her again, my wife, Gigi Carter. I also, this journaling had me reflect on what I've always struggled with, which is why I'm in this area now, which would be, how do you keep to calm your mind? How do you prevent or at least lessen seeking perfection versus seeking excellence? Seeking perfection can be debilitating, and I kind of live with that problem of always seeking perfection versus seeking excellence. So and that can lead to stress, anxiety. That leads to all the kinds of things that can put you in the health situation that you can find yourself in. So that's what I valued as well. Meaning, I value is a weird word, but I said, I'm valuing that this answer has been in front of me, and I want to keep working, keep working on it. So that's another thing that I kind of said. So it's not that I don't have an answer for this. I just need to I need to keep working on it. So, yeah.
Right. I can't imagine. What a powerful, this is something we don't talk about at work, is the reality of our mortality, the reality of part of the cycle of life is death, and you experienced your heart stopping. My
Yeah.
God, like, and then to come back from that, and it's really powerful to learn from and hear your reflections and what came up for you and having that like near death experience. Well, I mean, or you actually like flatlined. So I don't, I mean,
I don't know how you describe it as well. So it's somewhere in that ballpark there.
oh my God.
So, but and now how about yourself? I know that whenever you say that, just in any setting, it has a weight to it. But how about yourself? I mean, um, what are you both working through right now, and how are you working through it?
I'm working through burnout. I think I am socially saturated. I have a really solid community here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. My family's here. I've got close friends, and two little kids. And we've just been going constantly in the summer time. So summer months in Minnesota are really hectic in the sense that folks are out and about and want to take advantage of the warm weather. And that's all great. And then you get to late summer and it's just too much. Like, I think that finding ease for me right now looks like saying no to things that actually would be fun, but that I'm just doing too much of that. And I think in another time in life, I used to overcorrect and do the more kind of responsible, productive things. Like, I need to be serious and responsible and productive. And now I'm more on the side of life is short. I mean, life is long and life is short. And I want to create space for fun, but sometimes that I burn out. And so, yeah, slowing down, in yoga, I'm learning different ways of even just cool, like the energy of summer is fire. And so how can I bring in more cooling energy with, different kinds of foods, or being near or in the water, or the kinds of things I'm taking in my mind, in terms of music or information, like what has a cooling sensation and a cooling effect in my life to counteract such intense fire energy and burnout energy. And so a lot of that looks like saying no. A lot of that looks like taking 5 minutes to stretch and breathe. But it's hard. It's really hard to do that. But I have a poem I want to read in line with this. And so, yeah, I feel like this is a timely. I read it to our team on our all staff call. And this is something for folks to know. Like, we do a weekly team meeting, and before every or at the beginning of every meeting, we have a motivational moment. This is one way that we organizationally embed ease and embed a moment of just, yeah, thinking about our broader humanity and things that are motivating and inspiring us. And so, yeah, I'd love to read this poem as a demonstration. And it's less of a poem and more of a, I suppose, more of a, like, this is like wisdom. This came from a community I'm part of, or used to be a part of, called the Wild Woman Project, which is all about for women and non-binary folks and femme folks to sort of rewild ourselves, because we've been socialized and taught to temper our wild, to calm down, to like relax, to not ruffle any feathers. And so this whole community and this whole project around rewilding was helpful for me. And this is a card that I pulled from a deck called Follow Your Own Rhythm. And so I think it relates. Deep within you, you are moved by an ancient, powerful force that cannot be tamed. It's the rising pulse of your connection to the life force. You feel it in your bones, in your blood, in your heart, and in your belly. When there is something dying within you, you sense it falling away, no longer needed. You sense when it is time to rest and be patiently in transition. You feel the stirring of agitation and restlessness when new life calls you to create, to act, to step forward and take a risk. You know that you march to your own beat and that no one else can tell you what your inner rhythms are, and that you must trust your own timing. You cannot be rushed or forced, nor can you be held back when it's time to burst forth. Life celebrates and supports the natural rise and fall of your inner rhythms. So you cannot miss what you are destined for, nor will you gain anything by trying to push yourself. Trust in the life cycles within, and you'll feel this balance between effort and surrender, discipline and letting go. When it's time for the rhythm of rest, you will feel a natural slowing within and be drawn into contemplation and environments that are more gentle, spacious, or nourishing, and perhaps more peaceful. When the rhythm of play beats in your heart, you will reach out to others to connect, dance, converse, sing, make music, and share your wildness. You'll be drawn to uplifting groups and places where you can experience a positive, energetic exchange. Your needs will be met in harmony with your own rhythms. All that you'll miss out on by trusting this is anxiety. What you will gain is peace.
Mhm.
So, there's more to this, but I just really like the way this wisdom invites me to like listen to my inner rhythm and slow down when I'm burning out or when I feel that energy and excitement to follow that. But it's all about tuning in. Like you have to tune in to know what your inner rhythm is even saying.
I mean, I do think it's really powerful, and I tend to be I'm a tech guy. I like a lot of stuff, and so when I heard that, there was like some um, a whole bunch of things that I was trying out. So if anybody wanted to try out some of these things, I'll share some of them. But I really connect with what you're saying. So when I think about rhythm, I always think about like heart rate variability and whether that's Garmin and body battery. How's your body battery doing? How's your heart rate variability doing? Which essentially just the beat the time in between beats and it can kind of get a sense of your wellness and your health. But if anybody was, so here's a variety of devices that I tried that you may be curious about. Like again, this idea of rhythm and finding your rhythm. This one is called like Leaf, if anybody's ever heard of it, but it looks like a leaf. And it goes it goes on your right above your heart. And what it will do, it will measure your heart rate variability. And when it is beginning to be out of sync, it'll vibrate. And it will then tell you it's your signal to sort of, as you mentioned, pause, relax, maybe deep breathe. Maybe if you're on a video call, maybe cut off your camera and do some deep breathing. I really liked it. What I didn't really necessarily like it for the cost, I wish there was more reports to it. And so, but I really love this idea that it was always on and you got a sense of it. So if you're ever curious about that and folks want to look at it, it's a really powerful one. Another one, again, all these ones that you're saying around rhythm. I don't know if anybody's familiar with sort of the heart math and the one that you put on your ear. So like here, you kind of put something right on one ear, and this just clips it. But again, it will track your heart rate variability. And here it'll tell you, get a sense of whether you're in coherence or not. I tend to do this every morning. This would be my second favorite. So I'll kind of tell you my favorite. This one's probably more accessible in terms of cost. That first one I mentioned, Leaf, can be pretty expensive, although I really liked it. This one I do every morning for 5 or 10 minutes to really, when I try to meditate and really try to get the coherence there. And so again, I think that I've got like the old version. There's a new one out that you might like. My favorite one.
Can you say the name of the second one again, please?
It's Heart Math and
Heart Math. Yeah.
Yeah. So Heart Math that you can grab. Now this one, it's got a lot of advertisements. It is goes on your forehead here, And let's see here. So it's like this band, and it goes on your forehead, and it will measure your brain waves. And you meditate with it as well, and it will tell you your state of calm. Now, the interesting thing here was there was one day where I was working on some presentation, and I was I was just really hyped. But I just wanted to test out the tool a little bit. So my wife is almost a professional racer, and so I had her do it. Her calm, she did like 5 minute meditation. Her calm score was like 81. I did mine, it was 31. So for me, it was just the proof of where I was at that point as I got ready for that. But then, of course, information is golden, so you can kind of pause and then do get yourself back to where you need to be. So there are just a lot of tools out there. I mentioned the journaling. There's a great book out there called Practicing Mindfulness, 75 Essential Meditations that people can use. All these things I think are so important now as given the work that we do and the different things, whether it's burnout or whether it's something physically that happens to you, like in my case, your ability to um, help yourself find pause and ease and relax is so important. Again, whether it's a book, a journal, or one of these tools, they're all worth trying.
Wow, I love the story. I was going to ask you to share a story about any of these tools that relate. And that Gigi's score was 1 and yours was 30.
Yeah, I said I'm going to see if this is really something different, and she just sat there and she said she really attempted to meditate, and she had just finished working out, and then so she would obviously have that just a natural kind of relaxed state, and then she did, and I was like, wow, let me see where I am. I was like, wow, and I it's I enjoy doing it. It's something I do every morning with the idea of what's my calm score, just in terms of the heart rate variability. I'll look at what's my coherence scores.
Yeah, this is very interesting. So these are, and so the way your mind works, Kevin, in our day-to-day work together too, is on the strategy side of things. So
Yes,
this is
exactly.
fascinating that you found a way where you can actually score the physiology of calm. Like you can score the physiology of, you use the word coherence, like, and so what are some like, let's say, because I think there are some folks, myself included, who might be kind of hard on myself, like, oh my God, my calm score is awful. My coherence rate is, so now I'm just stressed out even more. What does your self-compassion practice look like? And how do you respond to data points that are not so favorable when it comes to?
Yeah, I mean, what's really powerful about the physiology of inclusion would say, okay, um, let's say in the we would say the mental, you got that low calm score. Now let's go to the enabling part, and that connects to sort of the spiritual and the social, and so part of that is what's your capacity to lean on others, what's your capacity to be vulnerable, what's your network look like, do you feel like you're connected to something that's greater than yourself? Meaning, I don't think you can breathe your way or meditate your way only through a state of calmness. It would be, am I connected to something that's greater than me that allows me to give me some peace and ease? Do I actually have a network of people that I can be myself with, that I can laugh with, I can have joy with, And so that's where we talk about physiology inclusion. There's some things that are the foundational, but these enabling ones are, again, I don't think you can breathe your way through a state of calmness only. It is some of these other things. And so, and I know for you, it's like, this, can I take that walk? But also, hey, can I connect with someone? Can I connect with some purpose? Because maybe that is why my mind is at unease, because I don't have that network, because I cannot connect to a higher purpose. And why might that be? What was I meant to do here? What unique gifts do I have here? There's a really powerful exercise I do with people. It's through knowing your gifts and really helping you arrive at what your gifts are and what's the environment that you would like to use them in. Sometimes that is what starts to give you some ease. I am aware of the gifts that I bring, and I found a way to utilize them to benefit for people, for myself, and for others.
Yeah, this is so powerful. What's coming to mind is for you and I think we're lucky in the sense that we love our work. It's challenging, but also I feel that I am in a work environment that generally has my best interest in mind. I'm not experiencing microaggressions or much of, different ways of being oppressed in my work situation. What would you say to those folks who are listening right now who are in toxic work environments? Maybe they have a supervisor where they're experiencing microaggressions, maybe they're being micromanaged, maybe there's a lot, that's really depleting them at work. What do you recommend to those folks when it comes to like taking stock of these areas of physiology of inclusion, and what's something they can do that's easier here and now to find ease?
Well, I think there's some things that are within your control, probably, in terms of maybe what you eat, your exercising, your breathing, you understanding what gifts you bring. There's probably some things that may be out of your control, meaning, yeah, I'm in a toxic environment at work, but for some reason, I have to stay in this job. And I'm not able to leave this job. Then you can start to think, is there a way for me to establish some degree of boundaries? Sometimes we're in jobs where we don't even feel like we can establish boundaries for ourselves. Sometimes, if you're able to get out of that situation, you want to get out of it. I think for me, it's always trying to look at the situation as objectively as possible, is to say, what's within my control, what's not within my control, and what's within my control, am I actually working on that? And as I work on that, I may feel better about myself. I may see other opportunities for me. I may gather that strength to totally get out of what is a toxic situation if I find myself to be in one. I think sometimes also we may find ourselves in toxic relationships, and it's or in a situation, and it's not all the time, but sometimes it is, we don't know that people are struggling as much as we are. And if we can find a way to enlighten them around the impact that their behavior is having on say me and the culture around them, they would change, but they are unaware. That's not all the time, but you always want to say to yourself, is that a possibility here? But those would be kind of the situations, is really handle what's within your control, what's not within your control. Figure out a way over time. How do I get out of this situation? Yeah, but it's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah. And then we talk about that in our work a lot too with clients, and your kind of sphere of influence, what you can, the ways that you hold power that might not be positional power. For instance, if you are able to find ways to influence the groups that you're working within, or do some good in your work. So I really appreciate that. So I want to know, like, with these different tools, have there been moments for you? You mentioned like turning off your camera or putting a presentation together. Have there been other moments at work where these have provided information for you to make a different choice? And let's say someone's lacking like maybe someone doesn't have the tool, but they can tell that their heart is beating really fast, or that their mind is racing. Like what are some tangible things people can do in the moment?
Yeah, I think people are getting better about cutting off their camera when they when they feel that they need to, and doing some deep breathing, or just or just cutting off the camera to stay off focus. If you, again, you have to pick your spots, but I'm a big person. I'm a big advocate of also finding ways to speak your truth. I talked about that when we did the our practice, our guided practices. But speak your truth means, say what's going on for you. That doesn't mean you have to say it in a spiteful, mean way, but you can speak your truth with discernment. You can speak it for love for yourself and for others. But sometimes just being able to speak your truth. Here's where I am right now, and here's what's happening with me, and here's my reaction to what's going on. There's a way to say that that can be received well by at least by individuals that want to receive that information well. So, and I think we have done some of that at different meetings.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, Kevin, you're someone who can receive it, because so many of us have had bad experiences with speaking our truth at work, especially where it's like, well, that's too much, or we need to shut that down, or especially when there's, dynamics at play where the dominant culture is upheld, and okay, we just need to have peace over conflict, peace over truth. And so, you have to sort of dabble and experiment with who can receive it too, because it isn't safe with everyone to just speak your truth. But I feel like you do this really well. Like Kevin and I, we're working on a project together with a client, and sometimes I'm like, Kevin, I don't know. Like, I need us to slow down, or I need more information, or I think I'm going to say we're going to be done with this part of the thing. And I just feel such respect and alignment in the way we communicate, even if something isn't clear sometimes. Like, I feel like if we're someone who can put up boundaries, we also need to be able to receive boundaries, right? Like if someone says no, or we need to slow down or whatever, there is another skill set of building capacity to say, cool, I'm with you and I hear you. And I feel like you do that really beautifully too.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, we go back to our guided practice. There, before speak your truth was listening deeply, and that was to listen deeply means you've got to put your personal agenda aside, and obviously, and then before listen deeply is attuned to emergence, which is I'm willing to be changed by others. I mean, and so if you're willing to be changed by others, then that moves you into listening deeply. Well, wow. Okay, those two go hand in hand. And I would say, you know what? If you're willing to be changed by others, and you're listening deeply, I don't want to phrase it as you earned the right to speak your truth, but literally, you're probably speaking a truth that's not purely subjective. It does have some insights to it. Why? Because it just hasn't been, here's just what I'm thinking, without even listening to you, without even being willing to be changed or influenced. Because again, if we think about that guided practice, am I pausing? Am I relaxed? Am I open? Now am I attuned to emergence? Am I listening? Probably by the time you get to speak your truth, you've gone through a screen a little bit, and a little bit less subjective and about me than it is about sort of me in the situation, with a little bit more empathy, a little bit more love, a little bit more compassion, a little more relationship.
Absolutely. What I hear in that is reciprocity. What comes to mind for me is it's reciprocal.
Yep.
Where we're practicing day to day, moment to moment, where we'll fumble around with these different ways of showing up and asking for what we need. And there's value in demonstrating that deep listening and attunement to emergence. Is that what you said in the practice?
Yes, attuned to emergence. Yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Because emergent, the word emergence is all about letting something unfold organically. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. Letting it come to be.
Yes.
Allowing yourself to be adaptable, be flexible, to come to be something different in connection with somebody else. And again, that's 2 steps before you speak your truth. because that allows you to listen. And now at that point, whatever, what comes out of you, I think just is going to be a richness. It's going to be a, a depth to it, a soul to it, versus just a reaction. Sometimes we think speak our truth is, hey, this just happened to me, I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. Well, that's not what we're talking about here. It's a little bit more reflection before that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and then that sets a foundation for, continuing to build skills in listening to yourself, attuning to your own pain. And then instead of just reacting out of pure pain or rage, there's been some quieting of the mind. There's been some self-compassion. There could be shedding tears. There could be like processing in therapy. There's so many modalities and ways to come to more clarity to then get to the point of speaking your truth, asking for what you need. And there have been many times I've needed to do that kind of work. And it's true that it's more effective. It has been more effective when I've had the chance to process and feel what I'm feeling and then speak my truth, as opposed to like obliterating a conversation. Yeah. Any other challenges for you or resources you think would be helpful for people as we're
I think those would be the ones that I've enjoyed the series. Hoping we'll find a way to continue this dialogue. I know we'll get some information out to people, but this has been a pleasure. This Summer of Ease has been a pleasure to just connect with you and kind of just learn from you and share with our audience.
Likewise, so much. I've loved this. And so like Kevin mentioned, it will have these resources that we talked about in the episode in the show notes. And it'll be linked as one of our Inclusion Solution blog posts. And so we'll have much more than what we discussed today in that post. Because we really want you all to come away from this series with some tangible ideas and things to start putting into practice. Kevin, I have one more thing I want to ask you is, it's so easy to have all these tools and be inundated with like, here's another training, here's another book, here's another recording. But what is your personal motivation for like actually doing the thing you need to do when you don't feel like doing it?
I hate to take the easy way out, but in my case, it's almost scared straight. I mean, some of the things that I do, I do to stay on this planet as well as to do our work. So I always go back and say to myself, hey, well, Kevin, you know what? Do you want to find yourself back in an operating room? And if not, these are the kinds of things you need to take care of. I think also I can remember maybe experiences with clients where things didn't go as well as they could have because you don't set the right atmosphere. And so I sometimes will reflect on when things didn't go well, reflect on when things did go really well, when you lean into this work. And if you're feeling really good right now, health-wise, know that that's earned by doing the work. And so, continue to do the work. How about for yourself? What motivates you to keep pushing?
I love what you shared. Thank you. I think for me, it's if I get to a place of like perfectionism or, I need to do all these things in the right way and do them perfectly, I get stuck and I don't actually get up and do the thing I need to do. Mm-hmm. So recently, a teacher of mine who I follow and have the privilege to study with this next week, Angel Kyoto Williams, talks about this concept of return, just return, like as you are. Come back to your practice for whatever it is that gets you to a place of liberation, ease, joy, truth, right? Is return. So I wrote down on my whiteboard this word return and then this other phrase, it can wait, because such a sense of urgency in the work we do. And we've got lots of things going on at once, usually in our work. And so just this phrase, it can wait. And then I wrote 20 minutes of movement equals freedom. and I put little hearts around it. And so just for me to be able to get up, like get away from my desk, this is the kind of work we do. We're at our screens, we're doing a lot of, thinking, reading, writing, ideating in meetings. So I have to physically pull myself away and remember I can return to my yoga mat. I can return to a walk outside. I can return to my children and I can snuggle them and, be re-energized. So that's the big one, is like, it doesn't have to be an hour long. Like I used to do this thing, it's like, okay, my setting has to be perfect. I have to clean my room. I have to light candles and there has to be no clutter and no children around, but this idea of returning as you are to the thing that gives you freedom feels really good to me. So that's my motivation these days.
Good. All right. Appreciate it.
Great. Well, thanks, Kevin. And thanks to our listeners. We want to express gratitude to you all for tuning in and being a part of this journey. And we hope that this was helpful, that it was illuminating, that the guided practices, provided some support and ease. And please come back to them, share them with your colleagues, friends, and family. So this is the last episode of our summer mini series, The Physiology of Inclusion, Finding Ease. However, we're going to be sharing much more when it comes to this topic with you all in the coming months and years, and we're excited to continue being on the journey. So until next time, find your ease and center justice.